What's going on, everybody? UFC Freedom Fights 250, UFC White House, whatever you want to call it, goes down this Sunday. It's hard to believe it's actually here. This has been a card that was talked about and rumored for a long time. Then it got announced back in, January or February? And just a card that's filled with sick fights. I think when it initially came out, just based off of the rumors and the hype that it was getting, they wanted 9 or 10 title fights on it, and you were thinking we were going to have super fights. When it initially got announced and it was only the 6-fight lineup, I think there was maybe some disappointment around it. But since then, they've added Josh Hokett and Derek Lewis, and I think people have come around to realize just how good some of these stylistic matchups and fights could turn out to be on Sunday. We'll see how the logistics of everything and how the weather plays out. That'll be interesting to see, and just how fighters react to fighting outside. And Washington D.C. in June, it'll be humid, it'll be hot, so it'll be really interesting to play out. But I think hopefully it all sails smoothly Sunday evening, and we get to see the greatest, or at least most polarizing, whatever you want to say, combat sporting event, maybe even sporting event in general, in modern history. So without further ado, these are going to be my picks, just who I think is going to win in my breakdown. I already did some early leans, so some of these I won't take too long on. This will be kind of a shorter video, but I wanted to get this out, and then a betting breakdown later this week. So first fight, I kind of said my early lean was going to be towards Steve Garcia, and it's not with a ton of confidence, but I'm going to stick to it because I think Diego Lopez is just too hittable on the feet. And, he's got an iron chin, so I actually think the finishing upside, just because of Lopez's power, and we've seen Steve Garcia be KO'd before. I mean, Lopez has been KO'd before, but that was a long time ago in the regional scene. And for Lopez, I think the grappling jiu-jitsu upside is on his side. But I just think this is a fight where everyone loves Diego Lopez. I think the UFC loves Diego Lopez. And Steve Garcia is coming in here with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Maybe people aren't, as familiar with his game and just how good and how entertaining he is to watch fight. But I've gone back and watched the Volkanovski fights, and it kind of seems like, to me, Diego Lopez is a little bit gun shy when it comes to these big, stage matchups. He had some moments in the first fight against Volk, but in the second one, he just looked completely hesitant. Now, part of that might have been, he was overthinking things, maybe tried to switch up too much from the original game plan after the first fight and how that played out. But something's just telling me that it's going to be Steve Garcia being the aggressor here, because he is coming in with something to prove. I think this fight opened up, Lopez was like a 3-1 favorite, and since then it's come down a lot. So, everyone, or at least not everyone, but the popular pick is going to be Diego Lopez. But at the same time, I think a popular dog shot this week is Steve Garcia, just because he's like really the only underdog that's within like a playable price that you could realistically see winning, at least in my opinion. But I just think he's going to be the one going first here, and I think if he avoids being countered, which is definitely a big if he doesn't knock out Diego Lopez, because that's clearly very difficult to do, I think he's just going to be landing big shots and, just winning the minutes. And whereas Diego Lopez might win the moments, I think this is a close fight. This is a banger to start off. Honestly, this would be a fight night main event that a lot of people would tune into. Instead, it's the first fight on this card. But I think they set it here for good reason, because they know it should be entertaining based on both these guys' styles. Again, not super confident in them, but I just have not been impressed with Diego Lopez. Even when he beat John Silva, Silva was starting to light him up in that second round. I know Lopez landed the spinning elbow that, and followed up with ground and pound to finish John Silva, but something's just telling me Steve Garcia is going to be on the gas pedal this whole fight, and if he's not able to get Diego Lopez out of there, I think he wins based on damage by a decision. So I'm going to stick with the dog shot. I know the jiu-jitsu upside and the power is probably on the side of Lopez, and the big fight experience is there, but I just got a feeling Steve Garcia is going to come in and shock a lot of people here and get a late finish or just a damage-based decision over Diego Lopez. The next fight, Bo Nickel and Kyle Dawkins. I'm going to stick with Bo Nickel here, and the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I favor Bo Nickel, because I really don't think Kyle Dawkins is better anywhere besides maybe the front choke submission game. So to me, it's like if Bo Nickel does choose to wrestle, which I definitely think he will, especially later in the fight as Dawkins gasses, because I'll get into Dawkins' cardio and what I think of it. I think Nickel is smart enough on the ground. I mean, this is obviously a NCAA wrestling legend, and he's had some success. Well, not some. He's had a lot of success in his early MMA career using the wrestling, using his own submissions. I think he's smart enough to avoid precarious positions there to put his neck into a choke. So I don't think Dawkins will. First off, Dawkins I don't think is going to be initiating takedowns at all. He is not going to be the one on top pretty much ever, I don't think. And Bo Nickel, I think the technical striking might even be better than that of Dawkins. You know, he kind of reminds me of an RDR, to where they're like long, lanky, like unathletic looking. And, you know, maybe that will cause problems with Bo Nickel. Obviously, he lost to RDR with a knee to the body TKO, but I think RDR is a level above Kyle Dawkins, even though they have similar styles, similar builds. I think Bo Nickel learned a lot from that. And this is like the most patriotic guy on the card, or at least him and Michael Chandler. If he's not frozen by the moment, which I don't think he will be, again, this is a guy that's a national champion wrestler. I think he's going to come out here and put on a good performance. Again, Kyle Dawkins definitely will be live early, but I really question his cardio, because since he's come back to the UFC and he beat Michel Pereira and then he beat GM3, which start off, those are terrible wins. Michel Pereira was going through a divorce at the time, I believe, when they fought over in China. And then GM3, we know how bad he is at this stage in his career. His total fight time has been less than 2 minutes, right? So I really don't think his cardio is going to be good at all past that first round. Whereas Bo Nickel, again, these wrestlers usually have good cardio. We've seen him get into the third rounds before. I don't think the TKO to RDR was a cardio issue. I just think he was getting hit with big shots, and then obviously to the body, that just sucks the life out of you. So if Bo Nickel survives any striking onslaughts and submission attempts early from Kyle Dawkins, I really think he starts to take over this fight. I want to say decision, but I could also see a late TKO or maybe even a submission himself if Kyle Dawkins is gassed. But I think Bo Nickel, just much better cardio, much better athlete. I'm going to stick with him to win this fight by decision or a round 3 TKO. The next fight, I had the bout order backwards in my early leans video, but Mauricio Hufi and Michael Chandler. I think this should be Hufi all day here, as long as he's able to defend a couple takedowns, which I think Chandler might even win round 1 in this fight, because he's definitely going to have the wrestling upside. We saw BSD be able to wrestle up Mauricio Hufi, but I think Mauricio Hufi, you know, he's training with Volkanovski now, and on his Instagram, he's training a lot of wrestling. I think at his age and his stage in his career, he's going to be making a ton of improvements from fight to fight, whereas Michael Chandler, he is what he is. The fight IQ isn't very good, and this is also a very patriotic guy. I think he's going to go in there and want to basically swing dicks. I don't think he's going to be looking to wrestle all that much. You know, maybe early on, but if Hufi's able to scramble and get back to his feet, he probably won't look to wrestle anymore, and it'll be a striking match, and that's where I think Hufi gets the finish. So I know a lot of people, just based off of the odds, and Hufi's, you know, he knocked out Rafael Fiziev in the second round. He had the King Green knockout in the first round. I think a lot of people are going to be on him to win in round 1, but I actually think it happens later into the fight. And I low-key could see Michael Chandler surviving to a decision. I'm definitely going to be looking at a Mauricio Hufi decision line, but I would say more often than not, I think he finds the knockout in the second or third round. He's also a guy that he kind of downloads data a little bit, but once he gets his reads, as we saw against Fiziev, he really starts to tee off on guys and start to pick them apart. I think something similar happens here. Maybe gets taken down once, but scrambles back to his feet, stuffs another couple attempts, or if Chandler just keeps on the feet, I think Hufi starts to pick him apart and gets the TKO in the second round. I'm going to go Mauricio Hufi, the biggest favorite on the card for a reason. Michael Chandler's been wanting Conor McGregor, and he got the Brazilian version of him. So we'll see how it goes, but I think Hufi knocks him out. And then Derek Lewis and Josh Hokett. Again, Derek Lewis, yes, the one shot power is there. He's got a puncher's chance. This is a fight that's the definition of puncher's chance, but I think Josh Hoggett is going to blast a double leg right out of the gate, get him to the ground, and just start to tee off a ground and pound. We'll see Derek Lewis curl up. If he doesn't go to the takedown right away, it maybe just starts to throw volume to get Derek Lewis, off balance and then shoot the takedown. Who knows? But whatever strategy he wants to go with, the takedown is going to be there. And I don't think he's going to submit Derek Lewis because he's got that like really broad shoulders, not much of a neck. So I don't think there's really an opportunity for him to choke him out. But the ground and pound is going to make Derek Lewis quit. At this stage in his career, we've seen him do it before. I don't think he's looking there to be in there defending ground and pound and trying to work back to his feet. Like once it gets there, once he's flattened out, I think the fight is over. And I think it'll be early. I will be shocked. I'd honestly be more surprised if Josh Hoggett doesn't get this fight to the ground and finish shortly thereafter in the first round, or if he wants to strike in the first and then use the wrestling in the second when Derek Lewis is death gassed. That's a strategy too, but I honestly would be shocked if it goes any other way. I know Derek Lewis has the one-shot power, most knockouts in UFC history, but Hoggett at this stage is just such a better athlete. I don't really think he has a lot of power in his hands, but it's just the volume and pace he sets at heavyweight. And for Derek Lewis at this stage in his career, I don't think he's going to be able to withstand it at all. So Josh Hoggett, round one or very early round two, where Derek Lewis has to be helped up off his stool to get out there to the second round. I think Josh Hoggett finishes him shortly after. But obviously, puncher's chance, I just don't see it happening, really. Give me Josh Hoggett by round one TKO. Feature bout, Sean O'Malley and Amin Zahabi. Everyone wanted Sean O'Malley to fight Corey Sandhagen. I think with due reason, that would be an awesome fight. But instead, he gets Amin Zahabi, who's, I believe, on a 8-fight win streak. But I just think O'Malley is such the better athlete here. Kind of similar to Bo Nickel and Kyle Dawkins, except at a higher level here and obviously a different weight class. Zahabi's smart. He's got good fight IQ. He's got a great coach with his brother, Fares Zahabi. But I just think Sean O'Malley is just better everywhere besides maybe offensive wrestling, And O'Malley, yes, he's there to be taken down, but Amin Zahabi isn't the type of wrestler like a Merab or anything to that level to where Sean O'Malley is going to be hesitant with the striking in order to defend takedowns like he was a little bit against Merab. Zahabi might have his moments early while they're both fresh, and he is tough. I'll give him that, but I just think Sean O'Malley is way more fast on the feet, way more powerful, way slicker with his combinations. I think he's going to be piecing up Zahabi in this fight. If Zahabi does get the wrestling going, like I said, my initial leans, it could get a little bit sweaty, but, White House, American fighter, a guy that the UFC has pushed his entire career, if he's just landing the damaging shots, he's going to get the decision. He could also knock out Zahabi. I mean, Zahabi is tough, but O'Malley does have the type of power at bantamweight to put him out. But more often than not, I do think it's going to be a decision for Sean O'Malley. Again, I think unless Zahabi's able to make this dirty for 15 minutes and get this fight to the ground, get this fight up against the cage where O'Malley's not able to strike from the outside and use that better athleticism and striking power. Unless it goes that route, I think O'Malley 30-27's here and gets a decision win. And right back to the title picture. And then the co-main, this is honestly the fight I have the least amount of confidence in, the one I'm most split on, but I'm going to stick with Poatan. Cyril Gane, obviously a natural heavyweight, the biggest guy that Pereira's ever going to fight. I would say Cyril Gane is the most athletic kickboxer, just as far as with the hand speed and the point fighting from the outside. And this is a guy that's been a heavyweight his whole life, whereas Pereira, this is his first heavyweight fight, at least in the UFC. But I think Pereira, this is a former kickboxer. It's not like he can't hang in that department. I think the leg kicks will be there for Alex Pereira, and I think he's got much more power. I don't think Cyril Gane has a ton of one-shot power, whereas Alex Pereira, even at heavyweight, or especially at heavyweight, is going to have the most power. We'll see him. And I think, he's been preparing to go to heavyweight. I would assume his nutrition has been on point. The bulk has been healthy, and he's going to be looking really, really filled out, but also athletic at heavyweight. Again, it's a close fight. Ciryl Gane might look to get in close and clinch up a little bit. And I think he would have a better, submission game, but this fight's going to be on the feet 99% of the time, I predict. And again, it's close, but I just think Pereira holds much more power. I think he is going to accrue the damage. We saw in his last fight against Ankalaev, when he is on the front foot, he backs people up because they have to respect that power. Again, Ciryl Gane is a good athlete. He might be able to dance around the outside and avoid and pick apart Pereira from distance, but I just think Pereira at some point is going to land the big shot and either knock down or maybe even knock out Ciryl Gane cold. And also Ciryl Gane's a bit of a ball dropper. We've seen him in big fights before, when he fought Ngannou, when he fought John Jones. I know he was looking good before the eye poke against Tom Aspinall, but he doesn't really have much of a clutch gene, So, whereas Alex Pereira, ever since he's been in the UFC, pretty much he has only fought in big fights, only fought in titles, and, outside of being KO'd by Izzy, and obviously the first Ankalaev fight, he's delivered in those big moments. So I was super impressed with his last fight against Ankalaev, the way he just walked his ass down and got him hurt and then followed up. I don't think it plays out similar here, or I don't think it plays out the same, but I do think at some point it'll be Pereira on the front foot. He's a little bit of a slow starter, but then he builds as the fight goes on and starts to really wear on his opponents and land the big shots. I think something similar can happen. I could low-key see this fight going the distance because I think both of these guys are durable. And it could be kind of an outside kickboxing striking match for a while, but I'm going to go with Alex Pereira. It's my least confident pick, but also a little biased too. I fucking love Alex Pereira. How can he not? Ciryl Gane's cool too, but I'm going to go Poatan here to become, albeit it's an interim, the first 3-division champion in UFC history. And then the main event, I just think this would be maybe the greatest upset of all time if it goes down that way, just based on the fact that these are two guys that are both strikers, and the fact that the better striker is also the better grappler. It's not a case like Hamza and Sean Strickland where it was striker versus wrestler, and that fight was either going to be close or somebody was going to look dominant. I don't think this fight is going to be close at all. Someone's going to put to sleep, and it's going to be Justin Gaethje for me. I just think Ilia Topuria holds way too much power. He's way too good with the boxing, and this fight is going to be taking part at boxing range for most of it, in my opinion. Everyone's saying Justin Gaethje can do the leg kicks. He's good with the high kicks. That's how he knocked out Poirier. Ilia Topuria got dropped by Jai Herbert with a head kick. I get all that, but dude, that was so long ago. It was long ago. It was early in his UFC career. He has been getting better and better, whereas Justin Gaethje at 38, yes, I know he just beat Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's not a striker. Paddy Pimblett doesn't have good striking defense, and Paddy Pimblett got poked in the eye twice. So I just think Ilia Topuria runs through him. I really do. And if he really wanted to, he can get the grappling going and even have a submission game here on Justin Gaethje. But I don't think that's going to happen because these guys have been talking more and more shit lately. So I think Ilia Topuria wants to keep this fight on the feet and prove why he is the best striker in the world and knock out Justin Gaethje within the first couple rounds here on the White House South Lawn. Put out the American fighter. America is going to be feeling good throughout the event. Sean O'Malley's going to get the dub for him, but then Justin Gaethje is going to be the final American to walk out, and he's going to be face first into the canvas when it's all said and done. Again, there's always that feeling like when we start to put these fighters on that God tier, right? They look unbeatable. We just did, or some of us were doing it. I didn't think Sean Strickland stood much of a chance against Hamza, and then look what happened. So you start to do that with fighters, and it's seemingly they either prove it or it looks terribly and they go get knocked out or beaten. Big upsets happen, but I just think a fluke head kick is obviously an option, but the way Justin Gaethje gets hit, the lack of striking defense, I just think Ilia Topuria is going to knock him out with a hook within the first 7 minutes of this fight. And if it doesn't play out like that, maybe he could submit him. But if it's him surviving, and I will applaud him if he survives to the 3rd round. I really do. But I'm going to say Ilia Topuria gets the knockout here in round 1 over Justin Gaethje. And then maybe, obviously Islam Makhachev is supposed to be fighting Ian Gary. Maybe after that we could see Topuria and Makhachev scrap. But if not, Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan is the fight to make there. But obviously everyone's got puncher's chances, and Justin Gaethje has made a career out of highlight knockouts. He's literally called the highlight, but I don't see it. I think Ilia Topuria is way too good with the boxing. This fight is going to be at boxing range for most of it, and I think he finds the chin in round 1 and knocks out Justin Gaethje. All right, so here's going to be my White House card picks ranked by confidence 1 through 7. We'll have the betting breakdown later this week. I've got a ton of action on this card because it feels right. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing. You got to bet big on it, right? But if you don't like to bet, then don't bet. But anyway, I'll have that video out later this week. But super excited for this card, man. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, hopefully we go 7 for 7. All right, so that'll do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys later this week when I do my betting breakdown. Goodbye.